We are live. Welcome to my video. This is going to be my thoughts on The Walking Dead Season 4, Episode 16, A. And the episode is rated TVMA. If I can stop imitating the Fonz for a second. Like all other videos I've done on the show so far, absolutely love this episode. There will be spoilers for the episode and all the ones leading up to it. Let's dive right in. So, yeah. Such an impactful opening with the flashback to something set between the end of Season 3 and the start of Season 4. And then we see Rick sitting with bloody hands, clearly traumatized. Yeah, I'm going to keep watching. I want to know what happened there. And I thought it was a really effective device throughout the episode. Going back to these flashbacks. And they, they build towards, it's set up fairly early in the episode, in the flashbacks. This is how, this is Herschel teaching Rick the farmer's life, and he's like, your revolver, you will not need it. And, Rick brings Carl into it. And Beth, who I'm genuinely concerned about at this point, props to Arts Cafe for not only, requesting I do this show, but also pointing out it was an ambulance. I don't know why I didn't realize. Yeah, the car that she was being driven away in, ambulance, or at least belonged to like medical personnel, something like that. The medical cross that I'm grateful that most of the time I've seen it with my own two eyes. It's been in video games as healing items, but yeah. It's going to be difficult to wait for her to find out what happened to her. Anyway, I guess it's not impossible that was also Terminus. And, certainly I do maintain that the one-eyed dog that came up to the door and then ran off, presumably thinking that Christy Gnome was nearby. That felt, they're definitely, I don't know if that was Terminus, but Terminus clearly do not operate 100% honestly. And yeah, like by the end of the flashbacks, they really lay it on thick, and it's like cuteness overload. It's Beth there with Judy. It's there's a new sheriff in town. I should get you a farmer's hat. And Carl smiling about farming, and now they're in this situation, and the thing about this could be, this is the future. We're gonna be here for a while, and things are gonna, we can just do the. Really great to see Herschel again. I will briefly go into the so I really struggle to I mean, overall I do hate the claimers, including the leader, because of some of the things they say and do, but there is also like, there's that thing about we don't have time to talk, and the leader's like, that is actually 100% backwards. We do have time, and that's true. Yeah, they have a lot of time in the zombie apocalypse. It's not like they have somewhere to be, Yeah, I appreciate, yeah, like when it comes to this group, you can find both con and pro claimers. I couldn't help it. I would walk 500 miles for a corny punchline like that. yeah, them just like pointing guns at the yeah, and Daryl walks up and he's like, you can take, you want blood, you can take mine, and the close-ups on their faces, like trying to understand why is Daryl with these guys, from both Rick and Michonne. Um, and Daryl really tries, and the leader's like, say your piece, and yeah, he said, these are good people, and we see, the logical conclusion of, the claimers with their rules, like at first it might seem, oh, no, they're reasonable, but we're seeing, the logical conclusion of an eye for an eye, I mean, they go beyond that because they don't intend to only kill the guy who did it. But yeah, once, like, you have to be careful not to let yourself, desire, you know, revenge. Like, if it's a fleeting thought, okay, but if you find yourself like thinking a lot about, I really want to hurt this person, I'm not saying it's easy, but you got to try to work on that. Maybe, there's nothing wrong with talking to someone about that. Well, obviously, got to be careful about who exactly you talk about. Some people are not gonna be the best at helping you. Some people are, gonna judge you, which I did. I think everybody at some point in their lives feel like, like certainly, when you're a kid and you're still learning how to control your temper and such, there's going to be times where you're like, oh, you really hate that person. And you have to learn emotional regulation. That's part of maturing and growing up, and yeah, like these guys never really fully matured. It's completely unreasonable to, like, an argument could be made. I understand. I disagree, but an argument could be made. Okay, Rick killed one of theirs. They kill Rick, even Stevens, but to also kill the others, including, like the son, it's just, yeah, you know. Uh, then we have the yeah, so yeah, he's like, well, I don't think Lou would think Rick was a good man. You're lying to me. And that's such a great turn because, like, dude, I'm not sure I thought that Daryl would be able to resolve this completely nonviolently, but certainly, like, yeah, it's a turn, this thing of, like, because we already know he does not like lying. That is not something this guy is okay with. And yeah, now all of them are going to die if not for the stop. And yeah, Rick, manages to, like, there's a gunshot, but Rick, avoids it, and like his ears are ringing. He does manage to attack, but the other guy has, some advantages, and then, you know, then he's like, you know, I gotta protect my people. I gotta protect my neck. And Rick is like, your precious, scrawny little neck. And then he goes like full, yeah, he is like carving a turkey. Like, Rambo is off screen, like, not bad. And yeah, Michonne, as soon as the situation turns, like, Michonne just like uses the gun on the guy without even getting it out of his hands, just turning around, just, yeah. She sure turned that around. And Daryl, of course, also managing to get, yeah. Um, so, Carl, I appreciate that it raises the stakes. It's a trope, but not necessarily a bad one, of zombie media, that the humans are sometimes a greater threat to other humans than zombies are to humans. The fact that it is essentially a plot device, Yeah, I appreciate it. It certainly it further develops Rick's character. We've never seen, I saw someone describe it as basically feral here. Um, I don't love that they don't really spend a lot of time exploring, what does this do to Carl? Like, it spends time exploring how does Carl feel now, from Rick's reaction to it and overhearing what he says and such. Um, yeah, I think that does cover. But yeah, and the fact, early on, it's like, oh, you want to see the snare? That's how you learn. I could show you as well. And the thing, on a scale of 1 to 10, 15, 28, just, yeah. Um, and yeah, he perfectly describes a snare and then fails to recognize it when that's what's being done to them at Terminus at the end of the episode, which understandable. I'm not saying that he should have, but it's more for the audience's benefit, and also showing, yeah, sometimes you can understand something when you're the one in control and not recognize it when someone else is doing it. This is very frequently the case with abuse survivors. They can recognize abuse done. Yeah, yeah, I think I've pretty much made my point about that. Let's see. I guess with abuse survivors, it's sometimes kind of reverse. Like, they can recognize when they're being abused, but not when they, there's the thing about hurt people. Hurt people, sometimes abuse survivors sadly go on to abuse others and at first struggle to recognize that that's what they're doing. But then other times it is, they might be able to recognize when someone else is being abused and try to help them, but they won't recognize when they themselves are being abused by someone. It's a complex subject. Yeah, I think. Yeah, the thing about Daryl, giving him the we should be drinking that, and he's like, I know you can't see yourself, but he can. I mean, both of you could if you had mirrors, but I get your point. And yeah, really nicely done. The thing we see and Michonne just like wiping away the hair from like the forehead and trying to because she does still have that motherly thing. She suppressed it for a long time, but yeah, and yeah, them both overhearing what Rick says that clearly was not meant to be overheard by them. Let's see. I think that does just about, yeah. And now he does not want to go with Rick, and that was also a sad, because like earlier it's like, can I go with you? It's like, yes, son, you can. Father of the year, and now yeah, because it is, yeah, it's complicated, and he can't uncomplicate it. The yeah, and yeah, her telling more about what happened to Andre. I really appreciate. I don't think I think I forgot to say, but now right now I forget if I did remember, but I really appreciate the when this show has children die, it does not tend to be like graphic and on screen and such. It's not a show that usually shies away from showing really graphic shit. So yeah, and zombie media, it's yeah, kind of has to. Uh, yeah. So the yeah, really appreciate the fact, and we also don't get a lot of detail about Andre, but just the two of them were stoned. So yeah, zombies attacked Andre, and the two people who were supposed to be protecting him did not, because yeah, drugs. And one can understand why. We saw that nightmare she had. They felt like there was no hope, and that's a lot of the time when someone, I'm not saying all drug use is wrong. I'm aware it helps some people, especially when we're talking about marijuana and things like that, which, despite what some government people would claim, is actually, under the right circumstances, beneficial and certainly not harmful. But yeah, the sometimes when people do drugs when they shouldn't, it's because they feel they have no hope. Uh, let's see. And I think the show has done a good job of showing, that's not like something, ethnic minorities do. That's something human beings do. All human beings, regardless of ethnicity. Just a few episodes ago, Beth was like, I need a drink, even though it's like super dangerous, and both she and Daryl get drunk. Even Mr. Dixon, the chaperone. So, let's see. Yeah. And yeah. She points out, for a while she just wasn't, she wasn't her. And then she had a Snickers, cleared right up. Andrea, Rick, Carl brought her back, and it's just, yeah. And that, I think, brings us to Terminus. So I quite appreciate that they do make sure to, Rick makes sure to hide some weapons, because, like, you never know. I mean, right now, it seems like, retire the whole weapon thing, but, I mean, hypothetically, he did already lose his wife. If he lost his dog too, he might get the weapons out. I really love the way they've handled Terminus, and it is very tickling to my imagination that they started the season in prison but not prisoners, and they end it not really in a traditional prison, but they are prisoners now, and they're all right there in the train car. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to how they're going to get out, because they fucked with the wrong people, which I think means that he has detailed plans of the prison tattooed on his body, so good thinking. But yeah, I am very disappointed in Tasha Yar right now. I really thought she was trustworthy. But they climbed the fence and they're like, we wanted to see you before you saw us. Very understandable. And let me guess. Albert was keeping watch. That guy. Wow. Just. I'm Garrett? Garth? Gareth. This is Alex. And, they give, Rick and the others give. And I guess, let's see, I think Rick says the names of all of them. And then later, when they're being, made to go into the train car, they're being identified by Gareth, who we know, he was present, he heard their names, he knows what they're called, so this is like a power move, he's like, you are your roles, you are the way you appear to me right now, you are not people. Ringleader, Bowman, Samurai, and Kid will be performing nationwide. And they're like, well, if you put down your weapons, we just need to check. And here you go. Here's your weapon bag. And I love the thing with, Daryl, picks his up himself. He doesn't want anyone else touching it. And yeah, we've got nothing to hide, but the welcome wagon is nicer. Alex, why don't you take these nice people out to the welcome wagon, and yeah, it's it looked so appealing, but it you know, we on some level we knew it had to be. It was too good to be true, you know. And also, you know, earlier in the episode, poor Carl, too good for his own good, which is not good when he tries to rescue the guy. And it's IMDb trivia notes, you know, it might be a reference to that uh, zombie comedy song about, you know, we're all we want is to eat your brains. We're not unreasonable. No one's going to eat your eyes. And that was also very nice, you know, very gnarly with, you know, eating the eye there. Yeah. But yeah, it's true. You know, how on earth would they possibly have fought off that many of them? They had to get away from there. And yeah, love the cutting between friendly flashback farming sim and then, you know, them brutally killing walkers. Also, that one walker that was like, yeah, like it looked like her body had been really fucked up. I guess it's possible she was partially submerged, but I think it was the body being, yeah. Yeah, so yeah, you know, it's like you know, where did you get that watch? I'll tell you if you give me a grilled meat. I don't have any grilled meat. You're the one with grilled meat. I don't even have a pet. And yeah, you know, where'd you get the what was it? Poncho? I'm sorry, I forget what it's called, but the clothing thing, you know, and the tactical vest and all this, and they say, oh, you know, tactical vest off a dead cop. Got the clothes off a clothesline, and these various, you know, and like it's just barely like if you know we know that they're almost definitely lying because we know, yeah, those, you know, Glenn had the tactical. Well, I guess by the end Eugene had the tactical, but yeah, you know, and that also when he said, you know, the person is dead is like they didn't kill, you know, just yeah. Thankfully, by the end of the episode, it's been confirmed that was so that was a fucking lie. But the yeah. I guess this, you know, yeah, you know, Alex with the watch, which, yeah, you know, and they underlined that earlier. Like, you know, I gave Glenn my watch, so the time is right now. You know, and yeah, uh, and Alex thinks he has the situation under control. Garth feels pretty confident he does not, or maybe he wants to be the one in control, even if Alex had it under control. And yeah, you have the thing about, you know, Rick, what do you want? And he doesn't answer. He's like, well, shoot. Literally, like that's an order. And yeah, you know, they call it out. They're like, I don't think they're shooting to hurt us. No, they keep shooting at our feet. You know, and doors are locked, and they, you know, they run through that really creepy cult like area with all the candles. And yeah, you know, they are being guided, and suddenly they are surrounded, and yeah, they really do have no choice but to walk into the train car there, and just yeah, uh, it's a really cool because we haven't seen, you know, none of the other seasons ended with so many major characters, you know, in like legitimately being trapped somewhere. Like they've been in, you know, season two. Let's see, season one ends with them feeling like, well, maybe, you know, what. I mean, if the CDC doesn't have a cure, what do we do? Like the future is uncertain. Season two ends with them. What's the word? Out in the yeah, they're like they're hiding. They're not necessarily in the absolute worst state, but they're not doing super well. But they're not like caught. Fuck, what did season three? No, yeah, see, I think season three. Right. Season three ended with the governor failing to take them out and them failing to stop him, but them having control of the prison still. So, yeah, you know, this is the worst situation they've found themselves in, the most exposed. You know, they're outmanned, outgunned. All they have left is Guile. And he's being played by Jean-Claude Van Damme in, you know, like sometimes he gives a really good performance, but it's not his best work there. Yeah. Right, and I appreciate the thing about, you know, oh, they're friends of ours, you know, we can't bury them. They saved us, you know. It's like, oh, well then they're our friends, but Terminus fucked with the wrong people, you know. That is, yeah, really, really cool. Yeah. Right, for those who might not know, I will be doing a season of an MCU show next, which is the 7th and final season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and then it is back to Walking Dead. Yeah. I mean, one thing I will say about Terminus, they may have to be more careful about giving a lot of responsibility to... Because like... So Albert is apparently a terrible guard. And Alex was carrying the watch. Like, and I appreciate, because it's like they didn't know that there were going to be... Because usually the groups are not separated. There'll be one large group, and they'll deal with them. You know, they're not used to groups showing up, you know, in bit parts like this, and thus being able to recognize you stole the gear of our buddies that were, you know, yeah. But yeah. Between Albert being a terrible guard and Alex not being careful enough about where he keeps that watch, Terminus might want to, like, be careful about giving too much responsibility to guys whose first name starts with the letters A and L.